Hey, I just made two other videos tonight and two other videos this week. I have one more thing I want to say to you while I have the inspiration to turn on the camera and talk to you. And that is, it's about a topic that has driven me nuts for like a couple of years that I see on the internet. Like, I'll see it crop up for a while and it'll die down, and it'll crop up and it'll die down. And it's like, so it's supposed to be a motivational phrase, but when someone tells someone happiness is a decision you make, if you're sad, it's because you made the wrong decision. You can just decide to be happy. I'm going to tell that person, on a daily basis, like, sure, like, hey, I could wake up and be like, oh fuck, I gotta go to a job that I don't like, or I gotta go do homework and be like miserable, or I gotta go do this that I don't want to do. Or you can wake up and be like, hey, there are so many people who have it worse in the world. I have it great. I'm going to be like, it's going to be a great day. Like that, sure. I get that. That's like something you can work on. You can meditate to make yourself a more positive human. However, happiness is not a decision you make when, it's fine, like happiness versus sadness, but not happiness versus depression. Depression is a real thing. It's a clinical thing. It's a medical issue that happens to many people at some point in their lives. And it's not as simple as being like, well, you have it better than that person, that person, and that person. And you can't just be depressed and be like, oh yeah, okay now. No, it takes intense therapy, whether it's through drugs or like, and I don't mean like illegal drugs, although I guess some people do use that as their therapy. I mean like depression medication, or like actual like sitting down and talking to a therapist kind of therapy. For you to come at me and say, you're having a bad day because you chose to have a bad day, you're belittling my disorder. You're belittling my medical problem. If I'm depressed and not just sad or upset today, it's because I have an actual problem that is like oftentimes like a chemical problem in your brain. It's not something you can just turn on and turn off like that. It's not a decision if it's depression. If it's depression, it's usually crippling and it takes a lot to get out of it. So you coming to me or my friend or this other person on the internet that I don't even know and saying, you're just having a bad day because you're choosing to have a bad day, choose to be happy, I'm going to say to you, you're fucking dumb, because you can't just choose to be happy if it's a problem like actual depression and not just like I'm pissed off. If you're just pissed off, you can think about things and make yourself happy, like bring yourself out of it again. But there are people who are depressed for like good chunks of their lives, their whole lives, or even worse, they might be like manic depressive, where they have like these really really low depressive moments, and then they have these like really high, like crazy high not anxiety, like the opposite of depression. They're like I don't know how to describe this. I can describe depression because I have it. I am having a harder time describing bipolar disorder or manic depressive disorder because I don't have it, but I'm not diagnosed with it. Who knows, I might have it. It does seem to run in my family, and I do know people who have it. So I know in that case also, it's not like, okay, I'm on my manic phase of this thing, I'm fixed. No, honey, no. I can't decide that I'm just like done with bipolar, or that I'm just done with depression, or that I'm just done with any other mental problem. Like I can't just be like, oh, I'm not schizophrenic anymore. I don't have agoraphobia anymore. I don't have dissociative identity disorder anymore. They were all in my head. That's a weird. I guess technically some people do think if you have dissociative identity disorder that your other disorders are in your head. I don't really know enough about that to say that, but people who have actual medical clinical problems cannot just change their mood and change their like outlook on life. It's not that simple. So you saying to a person that you don't know, you can decide to be happy and then that'll be that, is it's belittling. Like I said, it's not a thing you should actually be saying to people. I can understand if it's like your friend and you know them and you know they're not depressed, they're just having a shitty day, and you're like, dude, just like look on the bright side. That's fine, that's supportive, that's great. But to come up to a person you don't know their life story, you don't know if it's depression or just like a bad day, you don't know what's going on. They're not being like, they're not telling you like, hey, I have depression, because most people won't walk up to you and be like, hey, I have depression. Like, do you want to try to fix me? Doesn't unless you're a therapist, most people aren't going to walk up to you and like spill that part of their life for you, because it's hard. It's harder than just like thinking about it and changing it. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to change and like lift yourself from a depression. You know what I'm saying? It takes, depending on which route you go, it could either take intense like psychotherapy, it could take like a lot of drugs to balance your brain out. It's not as simple as a phrase, okay? And the other thing is, there are people who, like I mentioned, dissociative identity disorder. There are people that think that that is not a real thing and that that person is just making that up. Okay, like I can see maybe one person in history making something up to get attention, but I can't see an entire fucking diagnosable disorder being made up across the board for everyone in the globe. Like, someone wasn't just like, oh, hey, I have that, like, I have six personalities that are like, that's kind of on the borderline of multiple personalities. But I can't see somebody going through the shit that someone with DID has to go through just for attention. I can't believe that someone would want all that negative attention just to get a little bit of positive attention. Because if you ever go on YouTube and look up like DID disorder and like see these videos that these people make documenting like what goes on in their day, like their different personalities and their different, like, I'm not sure of the exact wording to use because I'm not a fucking doctor, I'm not a fucking psychological professional. I do, however, know people with different psychological problems, and I do spend a lot of time online, like, looking at psychological things because it interests me. So anyway, to say that somebody is faking something to get attention, maybe some people are, but I don't think everybody that has a certain thing is faking it. It's like, how are you going to have, let's say, 1 million people fake the same symptoms, the same thing? And it's not like dissociative identity disorder is common enough, and like commonly taught in schools, at least around where I'm from, that you would even know what to like say you're suffering from to like sync up your story. If you're gonna like fake sick, you can, at least now, you can go online and search for a thing and then tell people, oh, I have this problem, but that's also the problem. DID didn't start when the internet started. DID has been around for a while. A lot of these personality disorders, mood disorders, anxiety disorders, like depression, bipolar, generalized anxiety disorder, affective mood disorders, they've been around like forever. Not just since the dawn of like, let's Google some shit and see if this matches somebody else's experience. Like, people don't fake the same shit as other people, just like exactly. Not to a point that it's like a diagnosable thing. Like, if you have this, you have this, and this. That's not even. Just do me a favor, and the next time you try to tell somebody that you can decide to be happy, find out if they actually have, like, just having a bad day, or like they're having a shitty week, or like they actually have like a fucking disorder. Because if they have a fucking disorder, you're telling them you're not fixing your problems because you don't want to fix your problems. It's a lot easier than you're making it out to be. You're doing so much more harm than good. You're not being motivational. You're not helping anybody. Okay? That kind of thing. That's like if someone says to a trans person, oh, just because you think you're a girl doesn't mean you're a girl. You were born with a penis. You're a dude. Get over it, man. You can't negate somebody's feelings. You can't negate somebody's experience in life because of what you think. you should either keep your opinions to yourself or at least form like a more educated like hypothesis around it. So you're coming from more of a place like, this is what I understand, this is how I feel this works. If you disagree, let's have a debate. Come at it from that angle at least, instead of like, I'm right, you're being an idiot, fix your problems, because it just takes the snap of a finger. Because it doesn't always, it hardly ever. Okay, so, and I don't mean to lump transgendered people in with like people with mental problems, because I don't think it's the same thing. It was just like the first example that I thought of, that people give people shit for like their mental issues. People give people shit for being trans or gay. People give people shit for their skin color or their religion or all types of things. That's just the first thing that I came up with. So I just want to tell you, if you have depression, it's okay. You don't have to try to fix it, because maybe it's not as easy as that. Maybe you need to seek help. If you want to seek help, then go for it. There are so many sources for you, whether it's through a therapist, whether it's through your family doctor to give you medication, whether it's through a support group, whether it's through an online community, whether it's just through doing research online. There are so many options for people nowadays to actually help, and just telling someone you can do it, buttercup, just buck up, is not one of those options, okay? Just please just stop saying you could be happy if you just tried. Please.